All right, so you're gearing up for the ACT, and let's be real, it can feel like this huge, intimidating challenge, right? Well, it doesn't have to be. In this explainer, we're going to completely demystify the test and give you some real, actionable strategies to help you get the score you want. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and tackle the number one question that stresses everybody out. People worry that the ACT is secretly some kind of IQ test, a final verdict on how smart they are. So, is that what this is all about? The answer is a huge, emphatic no. And honestly, this is the most important thing you need to get into your head before you even start studying. The ACT is not about measuring some fixed, unchangeable intelligence. So if it's not an IQ test, what is it? It's a test of what you've actually learned. It measures your academic achievement, the stuff you've been covering in your high school classes. And you know what? That's the best news you could possibly get, because it means you can prepare for it. Your score is not set in stone. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to cover what the ACT actually measures. Then we'll break down the anatomy of the test itself. After that, we'll talk about your test day game plan, a really cool pro tip called the triage strategy, and finally, what might just be your secret weapon, superscoring. Let's really hammer this first point home, because it's a total mindset shift. This is about moving away from that dreaded question, am I smart enough? And moving toward a much more powerful one, am I prepared enough? When you strip away all the anxiety, this is all it is, a standardized test, mostly multiple choice, that reflects what you've been taught. It's a predictable challenge. And you know what's great about predictable challenges? You can build a plan to beat them. Okay, so let's get into the structure of this thing. To beat the test, you've got to know the test. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at all the component parts, so there are absolutely no surprises when you sit down on test day. 215. That's the total number of questions you're going to face on the ACT, not counting the writing section. And yeah, I know, seeing that number, it looks huge. But just stick with me, because breaking it down into smaller pieces is the whole point. And here are those pieces. The test always goes in this exact order: English, math, reading, and science. Now, the really interesting thing here is the relationship between the clock and the questions. Just look at that English section. 75 questions in only 45 minutes. That is incredibly fast. It tells you that this test is just as much a race against time as it is a test of your knowledge. All right, knowing the layout is one thing, but you need a plan of attack. So let's go over some universal strategies that you can apply across the entire test. Think of these as the fundamental rules of the game. You've got to lock these in. Pacing is obviously critical. We just saw how tight the time is. You want to grab all the easy points first to build momentum. But the most important rule of them all? Answer every single question. Why? Because there is no penalty for guessing on the ACT. A blank answer gets you 0 points, guaranteed. A wild guess gives you a chance, so you never ever leave a bubble blank. And speaking of bubbles, I know this sounds super basic, but it is so important. Your test is being scored by a machine, not a person. That machine can't guess what you meant. So fill those bubbles in completely, make them dark, and if you change an answer, erase it fully. You don't want to lose points you earned because of a stray pencil mark. Okay, we've got the basics covered. Now we're going to level up with a more advanced technique. This one can make a huge difference in your score, especially when you're feeling that time crunch. It's called the triage strategy. Yeah, triage, like in an emergency room. Doctors don't just treat patients in the order they show up. They assess the room and help the most critical patients first to save the most lives. We're going to apply that exact same logic to save the most points. And here's the beautiful, simple reason this works so well. On this test, the hardest, most complicated question is worth the exact same as the easiest, simplest question. 1 point. That's it. So why would you spend 5 agonizing minutes on one super hard problem when you could have answered 3 easy ones in that same amount of time? So here's how you put it into action. Go through each section and knock out all the questions you know how to do right away. The second you hit one that seems tough or time-consuming, just circle it in your test booklet and move on. Bank all those easy points first, then you can use whatever time is left to go back and battle those harder questions you circled. It's the smartest way to play. All right, our final strategy is all about playing the long game. A lot of colleges now use this system, and it can be a huge advantage if you take the test more than once. It is your secret weapon, and it's called superscoring. Superscoring is pretty much what it sounds like. It creates a super score for you by cherry-picking your best section scores from all your different test dates. Let's look at this example. In November, this student got a great reading score, a 20, but only a 16 in math. They retook it in April, and this time, they bumped their math up to a 19, but their reading score dipped a bit. A college that superscores will take the best of the best, the 19 from English, the new 19 from math, the original 20 from reading, and the 21 from science. This creates a totally new, higher composite score, a 20 in this case. So what this really means for you is that you can take the test multiple times and be strategic. You can focus on nailing English and reading on one attempt and then really zero in on math and science the next time around, knowing your other high scores are already locked in. It takes a ton of pressure off. So there you have it. The ACT isn't some judgment of your worth. It's a test of your preparation. It's a game, and now you know the rules. You've got a game plan, a time management strategy, and a long-term advantage with superscoring. It's a challenge, for sure, but it is a beatable one. You've got the playbook, so the only question left is, how are you going to conquer this test?